Alrighty, and we are live, letting it breathe for a second. Hello, 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 and welcome to another beautiful Saturday night and an episode of the Mile High Insiders. Luke, how are you? It's good to see you, man. I gotta say, also, before we even get into this, Luke, I can see it in your face, man. I know you have to be working really hard. Congratulations on your current weight loss journey, man. I can really see it. You are obviously putting in the work, and it's paying off, man. You're looking pretty damn sexy today.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate that. I'll take that compliment anytime I can get it. I like to think I have a face for radio, but here we are doing this StreamYard thing. So I'm doing good, man. It feels good to be working out, trying to get into a little bit of shape, and be healthier. But I'm really pumped for the Broncos game tomorrow, man. I mean, Broncos, Steelers, it's a rich history. It's gonna be a tough game, but I am pumped to talk Broncos. We're hours away, Nick.
Hours away, hours away. So I'm pumped about it too. Week 2, obviously the Broncos are coming off a pretty disappointing week 1 loss at home versus the Tennessee Titans, but we're not going to waste too much time being down in the dumps about what happened. We're going to talk about what's going to happen week 2. Guys, this is the Mile High Insiders podcast. I am Nick Kendell along with Luke Patterson here. You can see our Twitter handles on the picture here down that way. Sorry, it's kind of mirrored on our screen. Also, guys, before we even get going, got to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by sportsbetting.com. Head on over there for all your NFL and other sports betting needs. A great site with tons of information for sports bettors like us. With gambling now being legal in the great state of Colorado, make sure you go over and check out sportsbetting.com. So, and also want to let you guys know that Mile High Insiders is brought to you by Mile High Huddle and Sports Illustrated. So, before we even, I guess the first thing you have to talk about when talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers, obviously there for a little bit, they were starting to look like an elite offense, but the identity of the Steelers is kind of like what the Broncos have been recently. They are a blue-blooded, smash-mouth football team, and it starts and ends with that pass rush. So that Steelers pass rush, last week, they had the best pressure rate in football. They send 5 guys a lot, but that's the matchup to watch this week. Obviously, Drew Lock, young quarterback, a lot of intrigue there, but Steelers pass rush versus the Broncos offensive line, probably going to be the make or break factor for this game.
Yeah, absolutely. You and I have been on the same page all week with that. I think since we watched the Giants game, right? First Monday Night Football game as Broncos country was eagerly awaiting the late kickoff. Nick, I know you probably got to bed a little bit earlier up there in Seattle than you would have. But yeah, man, the Broncos are going to have to face a mean, snot-rattling defense. Now, the Pittsburgh Steelers always have a nasty defense. The AFC North, heck, that division's just tough in defense in general. But you start talking about, we're going to get into it. We're going to talk about TJ Watt. We're going to talk about Cameron Hayward. We're going to talk about Bud Dupree. We're going to talk about Devin Bush. We're got a lot of Steelers that we got to focus on, because if we don't focus on them, the Broncos offensive line, man, they're going to get smashed out. So while we start talking about this, I encourage everybody to get involved in this chat right now. I see Terry Randall up in here, always supporting us. What's going on, Terry? James, I see you, man. We got Big E coming in. I know Bawana Beast on the 1s and 2s, Kenneth Booker. But you said it, Nick. It's going to be the pressure. It's going to be the pressure. Drew Lock is going to have to be on point, and he's going to have to use his feet.
Yeah, we saw it last week, which was really great. The athleticism to extend plays. Even if it's just picking up 3 yards here and there, that's plus 3 yards rather than -3, which you saw with Joe Flacco. And I guess Case Keenum did have a little bit of athleticism, but I felt like he ran himself into a lot of bad situations as well. Yep. So I didn't really see that with Drew Lock last week. I felt like that athleticism was a big positive for him, and he's going to need it this week. You kind of touched on it. The Steelers have an incredible defensive front. Cameron Hayward is probably one of the most underrated interior defensive linemen in football. He's a veteran at this point. He's been in the league for a while out of Ohio State, but I think it was might have even been that famous 2011 draft as well. The one with Von Miller and Julio Jones and Cam Newton and JJ Watt and blah, blah, blah. So many stars in that draft. I think he might have been in that one as well. Stephen Tuitt is he's kind of just a big body run stuffer, but he eats so many blocks. He's going to be hard to run against. And then obviously you got TJ Watt and Bud Dupree. So it is, that's a really talented front for the Steelers. They're going to get pressure, and something else they really do is they send blitzes a lot. They send 5 men. Yeah, 5 men, I think, on a majority of their pass reps. So the Broncos are going to have to not only be good at, evading, Drew Lock specifically evading, but the line checks as well. I thought that was an issue week 1 with the line checks. I think that's probably on Cushenberry. That's typically on the center, but not sure specifically who that's on. But I am a little bit I'm a little bit worried. I mean, it really, Drew Lock is going to have to stay healthy. The Broncos are kind of dropping like flies right now, but this is a game where they could really make or break. So we got some super chats coming in now. We got Terry Randall saying hashtag Nick's Beer Fund. Terry, I got bad news for you. It's Nick's Water Fund today. I've not had enough water. I had 2 cups of coffee. I've been up building stuff and furniture and everything like that. We got Duke coming in. Luke, your article on Fangio was spot on. Great article. Emphasis on the great there. Luke, we'll have to talk about that at some point. Terry, thank you so much.
Thanks,
and
dude.
We got Dylan Von Arks coming in. Can't stay tonight since it's my 31st. Dylan,
happy birthday. Happy birthday,
show a little love. Nick's Beer Fund. I'm going to go have a beer after this, guys. No worry about that. Luke, use the force. So we got a bunch coming on there. Oh, he meant 21st. That's even more important, Dylan.
Oh, Dylan, happy 21st. Can we get a hashtag
Dylan's Beer Fund?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, man. Happy birthday, Dylan.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, that's the main thing I'm thinking about right now. Yeah, 21 for Dylan. Happy birthday, Dylan. That's awesome. That's great to hear. Let me know. Hey, get to us on Twitter. Let me know what you have tonight. I'm curious, man. I'm an IPA guy myself. I'm a basic bro when it comes to that. But let me know. Whiskey, mixed drinks. I mean, if you're out there drinking White Claws, I won't shame you.
Nothing wrong with IPA. I love IPA in the summer too, especially, man. That's the best thing, man. So yeah, that's a huge milestone. But Nick, one of the biggest concerns I have, and everybody seems really high on his performance last week, was Garrett Bowles. Now, Garrett Bowles did well. He played well. He deserves that credit. But I'm not through the moon and back, and this isn't Garrett Bowles radio that we're going to do here or a podcast or anything like that. But the young cat has an elbow that's bothering him. He's wearing that elbow brace. How big of a difference do you think it's going to make when he's facing a nasty Steelers defensive line and he's not 100%? Now, it's not an injury where he's got to stay out of the game, but he's just learned or is learning how to pass block and get those hands inside and get those feet to be corrected. What do you make of the left tackle's injury and Garrett Bowles with that elbow?
It's one of those things where my worry about it is not 100% about him. It's because the right tackle position is such a concern as well. So the Broncos can't shift to anybody over there. They can't really slide protection to protect Garrett Bowles because TJ Watt versus Elijah Wilkinson. Oh my God. And while Bud Dupree, we have a comment coming in here for Joey Grubbs. Bud Dupree is somewhat overrated, but as a beta pass rusher to Watt's alpha, actually, he's the tertiary because you'd have Hayward and Watt as the prime alpha and beta. So when you're talking about, getting one-on-ones, especially because Watt is so dominant on that side, he can eat. So he's talented enough. He can eat there. And also he was kind of a bust early in his career. And then it just clicked last year. So Bud Dupree, while he hasn't lived up to it, his first round status before last year, it really started to come together. He went first round for a reason. Heck of an athlete out of Kentucky, I believe.
And I didn't get to
mix up.
You're exactly right, man. I mean, he didn't start off hot, but he's definitely started 2020 hot. I mean, I didn't get a chance to chart the Steelers game or anything against the Giants, but his name was called all night. He was all over the field. He wasn't just staying on one spot. He was moving around. I mean, twists, stunts. They're an active defensive line. And you're exactly right. I mean, I'm feeling a lot better about Garrett Bowles than I am Elijah Wilkinson. And one of the biggest things that surprised me, and maybe it shouldn't, I heard someone on the call on Monday Night Football say that TJ Watt's going to be in the running for a possible Defensive Player of the Year. Man,
we could have got it last year.
That gives me goosebumps. I mean, that just gives me goosebumps. It really makes me scared of this young cat. He's got it all. He's got the strength, the speed. He's slim enough to bend around a little bit. Now, he's not Gumby like Von Miller's Gumby, but how do you defend TJ Watt? I mean, a part of me wants to say just off a natural instinct, you chip him, right? You chip him with a tight end. No, I don't want Noah Fant chipping TJ Watt. I want Noah Fant getting out there into his short to immediate route, relatively soon, because Drew Lock, he's got to get rid of that ball, around under 3 seconds for sure. But I'd like that 2.75, 2.89 area.
I think you hit the nail on the head. We have Andrew Hardware coming in here. Need to play 12 offense, which is 2 tight ends for those of you who are not aware.
One running back, 2 tight ends.
Yep, exactly. The Iowa Hawkeye defensive or offensive formation, if you will. Yeah, I think that honestly, even though the Broncos were without two of their top three or top four wide receivers last week, the Broncos still played 11 personnel like 60 something percent of the time.
A
So I think
lot.
you're still going to see him play 11 personnel a high amount, even though you're going to have good pass rush from the Steelers. And I think you're going to counter that more. Instead of personnel, it's going to be the play calling. You're going to see quick passes, especially with Hamler out there. Hamler and Judy
Yeah.
last year in college football were the two wide receivers, I believe, that had the quickest separation in all of college football, and the Broncos got both of them. So because of that, you're going to see, Cortland Sutton, Noah Fant, a little bit more of a long developing guys, especially down the field. But Hamler and specifically Judy, I think we're going to see a bounce back game from Judy. And I think that's going to be the offense. You're going to see still a high amount of 11 personnel, and you're going to live with some one-on-ones on the outside. But in order to counter that, it's going to be more, I think, the quick pass game that's going to be the reason that, or the way the Broncos are going to counter the Steelers pass rush, specifically TJ Watt on the right side.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I guess I kind of have a question for you when it comes to tight ends. Let's say, to go back to that last comment, we're rolling into 12 personnel, one running back, two tight ends. Man, I have such a problem that Alberto's not in the game. That really bothers me because I don't feel like you're going to get a ton out of Nick Vannett. I don't. Now, Jake Butt and the shovel pass and everything, okay, that was a bad play. I don't fault Jake Butt on that. But Noah Fant, he's got to be more of a receiver in this game. Let's just call him what he is. And why they didn't go back to him just blows my mind in the second half because I'm going to eat some crow. I called Noah Fant what I projected to be an early bust based off of my first time of seeing him sick in training camp. I ate all that crow at the end of last year. I'm still eating it because I saw a young tight end that I've been so critical of for going out of bounds, having mental errors, not being tough. He looked hungry, Nick. He looked really hungry. He wanted that physicality. He wanted the ball. He looked like an alpha dog. So if you're in 12 personnel, who's your second tight end? Are you going Jake Butt? Are you going Nick Vannett? I mean, they got a whole room full of guys, but tell me who you'd go with and what do they bring to the offense?
I think you probably I don't believe in the revenge factor, but it's a good storyline for us, so might as well. But Nick Vannett, obviously the former Steeler, so you're going to be looking out for him there. And I think that this is another game where another way to slow down the Steelers pass rush is to make them be thinking about their run defense, their disciplines, their gaps. And Vannett is the best blocker out of all of them. I don't know. I mean, Jake Butt, good for him coming back last week, but he was struggling on the edge as a blocker. A lot of people think he's this great blocker. He's not. I mean, he's not.
He's proficient.
Dog. Yeah, I mean, he's okay. Right. But he's much more of a good hands catcher. He can get a little bit of separation, find the soft spot in the zone. Hopefully we'll see that this week. But I think that I would probably play Vannett. I think a lot of the Albert Okwuegbunam stuff not being out there is probably more to do with how many hats he can wear right now as a tight end. Because he's probably more like the Noah Fant, but Noah Fant's, I mean, more athletic, more agile, second year in the NFL, blah, 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 blah. That's that classic wide tight end. He's going to stick in the line. He's going to essentially be that 6 offensive lineman. So if you're going to be trying to run the football, I think that's the way you're going to go. Also, you'll see Butt being rotated in there as well. But I think it's a matter of time when we see Albert Okwuegbunam. But I do want to say that, I mean, Fant last year, calling for patience with him. Obviously, he had some dumb plays, but you could always see the athletic traits that he had. And once Sutton's back, once this offense is humming, the space that he's going to have underneath, I mean, we saw it last week. Once Fant gets the ball in space, he's a different speed than the linebackers he's going against. So, but he's still one of the youngest players in the NFL. I think he was 21 last year. He was just a baby. So he can be special. I mean, he really could be a top 5 tight end, definitely top 10 by the end of this year.
Oh, absolutely. I believe that 100%. I get goosebumps as you say that, man, because I'm thinking, Denver needs a tight end. Now, whether or not we can cover one is a different story. But, you're exactly right, man. Noah Fant. What's up, Cody? Cody giving us a what's up. Cody Potter, appreciate you tuning into the show. Talking about the running game a little bit, and here comes Duke. Duke with the bold prediction. Super Chat, Denver wins tomorrow, 34-31. Duke, I'm curious, is that a last-minute field goal from, the only active Super Bowl 50 champ on the 53 on Sunday? I mean, I'm thinking that's a late McManus field goal, right? So time management's going to be a big one for the Broncos and Coach Fangio. But I want to get back to a comment you talked about the run game. Phillip Lindsay, he's out. He will not be playing, right? I mean, that's basically on the injury report. He's gone. So you got Melvin Gordon. Now, I've got a lot of issues with Melvin Gordon, some good, some bad. I like that he redeemed himself after the fumble. I don't like that he has a history of fumbles. It doesn't seem like he changes the way that he carries the ball. I think sometimes it's a little bit of a focus thing. But Royce Freeman, he got limited snaps, but he almost got himself into the end zone. He's got to have himself a season. Otherwise, I mean, you could be looking at this guy. Heck, I don't know if he makes it through the entire season unless he shows the Broncos something. What do you anticipate from one, Melvin Gordon, and two, Royce Freeman?
I want to go first with Royce Freeman. I mean, I don't want to overstate this, but I think this is his chance. I mean, he came into the
Me
league
too.
early third round pick, and he looked okay early on, and then after that, I mean, looked like a plotter. Did not have much burst. Vision went out the window, and
Footwork.
now that Lindsey's out, I mean, this is like he has to show up right now in this opportunity because this is the second contract he's playing for. What he puts out there on tape right now, obviously, when Lindsey comes back and knock on wood, Gordon's still healthy, you're still going to have Freeman be the third back, but this is his window. So right now, I mean, I understand that, you know, Gordon is going to be getting the lion's shares of the carries, as he should. He's the most dynamic runner they have. But Royce Freeman, I mean, if he gets, let's say, 5 to 7 carries, maybe a couple catches, I mean, that tape is going to be what gets you paid that next contract. So I hope that he realized the gravity of the situation and the opportunity in front of him, because this is it. This is dollar bills, and that could be in his pocket.
Ooh, dollar bills, y'all. I love it. Nick spitting some fire. Thank
Speaking
you
of
guys.
dollar bills, Madunga's coming in here. Steelers DB is about to get smashed by a 1-2-3 punch. Steelers D is overrated. Broncos 14-10. I do not think the Steelers D is overrated,
No.
but we haven't even talked about their secondary yet. Minka Fitzpatrick, obviously. Steven Nelson had one of the most underrated seasons last year. The Chiefs let him walk, and thank God, I guess, the Chiefs still in the Super Bowl. But, I mean, Joe Hayden's got a second wind there. So
Yep.
Cameron Sutton's a good nickelback, Mike Hilton. So, and then obviously Minka Fitzpatrick. So this is a good defense. Terrell Edmonds, too, a first-round pick, is kind of that dimebacker type. So it's going to be
Yep.
interesting. I mean, I know that the Broncos, the Titans, hats off to them. Mike Vrabel is a heck of a defensive coach, and they got talent up front for days. But I mean, Steelers, in my opinion, have a top 3 defense in football this year, and
Absolutely.
it's going to be a
Yeah,
real
man. You're exactly right. Mungungus, dude, I don't know if you watched the Giants game, man. I appreciate you tuning in. Go watch the Giants game on NFL Game Pass. We were just talking about how awesome Game Pass is before the show started. When Saquon Barkley is held to 15 rushing attempts and 6 yards, man, I've got concerns because Saquon Barkley is a heck of a running back, and he is a lot.
Like the running game is completely dependent on the blocking and the offensive personnel dictating guys in the box. I'm just saying. It's not the running back. It's okay, but let's go.
So that's a good point. Now, when you start to talk about players in the box, one thing that you've got to realize is Drew Lock needs to start figuring out if his safety's feet are going to be flat or if they're going to be ready to backpedal. I think they're going to be flat, ready to either come screaming downhill or ready for Melvin Gordon to try to run the rock, or Royce Freeman. The thing I do like about the Broncos running backs, they both have size this week. Now, I'm not knocking Phillip Lindsay, but you're going to need some size against this physical defense. So, Royce Freeman, I need you to be a wrecking ball, much like CJ Anderson's. Congratulations on CJ's retirement. A hats off to CJ Anderson, man. A heck of a guy, crucial to Super Bowl 50 and beloved in Broncos country. So much like CJ Anderson was a battering ram, Royce, can you just be a little bit of a battering ram? I mean, just a little bit. Could you kind of bounce off a couple Steelers? Drew Lock, he has got to go through his progressions early. He needs to come up, get his pre-snap reads, and get the ball off. I don't know if it's going to look like a lot of screens. I don't know if it's going to look like a quick slants. I don't know if you're going to see running back draws. But I would say all of the above should at least be in Pat Shurmur's arsenal.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me for Drew Lock coming into this game, and something that left me wanting, obviously this is nothing new here, but the deep ball accuracy was disconcerting, to put it lightly, and was whether that be mechanics or him seeing the field and getting it there properly. Obviously, having Cortland Sutton out there could be a make or break for a deep ball, but the ball beyond 15 yards last week was spotty accuracy, to put it lightly. And I mean, you got to hit some of those big plays, even if it's just a field flipper. I mean, chunk explosive yards is the name of the game today. And you can get that from weapons, getting the ball quickly and then making things happen. But when you can hit the ball down the field and hit those guys deep, that's when you really can see the game turn over. So I'm hoping that Locke can hit a couple deep and really show better accuracy down the field, because if he doesn't, I mean, that could be a make or break for him being the franchise quarterback. Like, that's a big enough have or have not that that could determine him being the guy. One game, mechanics still there, weird offseason, young team, blah, blah, blah. There's every excuse in the book for Drew Lock, but I'm just saying point blank, he has to improve that accuracy deep if he's going to be a viable franchise quarterback.
Footwork. Aren't you sick of talking about Drew Lock's footwork? He's probably sick of us talking about it, man. He's sick of hearing it, but dang it, you're not Pat Mahomes. I don't want you. I don't want Pat Mahomes throwing off his back foot. I hate it when quarterbacks throw across their body. Now, I got attacked a little bit on Twitter during the game because someone said, haven't you ever heard of John Elway? He threw across his body all the time. Well, yeah, but Drew Lock is in his second year, really kind of a first into the extended second year. And eventually those are going to eat him up, man. I mean, it's almost Jay Cutler-esque with a bad habit where you have such a strong arm that sometimes you can get away with those throws. I liked that he waved Noah Fant open. Noah Fant, I think, saved Drew Lock on that one, man. I think it was a better catch by Noah Fant than it was a throw by Drew Lock. So I just need for me, man, and that's coming from a Drew Lock guy. I've loved him out of Mizzou, but dang it, stop throwing across your body and set your feet. It drives me nuts. That being said, play action, if they can mix that into the mix, let's do it, because the Broncos are going to need it. Cody Potter coming in once again, Super Chat superstar. Broncos 24, Pittsburgh 23. Fangio getting a second chance. And ices Boswell at the end. Hashtag it could happen. Cody, I love it. This show's been all about goosebumps because Nick, Coach Fangio, man, he took a lot of heat this week, and rightfully so. But he is going to get another chance. We'll have to see how he does. Levi Hope coming in here with a huge super chat, $49.99. Great job, guys. Thank you for the hard work. Levi, thank you for tuning in, man. I really appreciate it. Nick appreciates it. All of our Mile High Huddle staff, Bawana Beast on the ones and twos, I know he appreciates it. You guys mean a lot to us. You mean so much to us. Duke, I see you, man. You're coming back in there, baby. Here we go. Missing scrimmages against other teams in preseason at this point in time. I think what Duke is probably saying, scrimmages in preseason, more reps, Nick, you're probably going to get a better team. I mean, I was surprised by the product that we saw across the board in the NFL. It looked pretty decent. How do you feel about just the optics of football in week one?
I think there's a lot of ugly games. Honestly, you could really tell that a lot of teams were not up to snuff. And typically week one can be a little bit like that anyways, but I felt like it was more so specifically in the passing games. A lot of ugly passing games out there. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I want to come back to this Drew Lock comment, and I think that there's an important differentiation that we try to bring nuance here, guys. In the world of hot takes, we want to add a little bit of nuance. And while Drew Lock that touchdown specifically is a great example, he can make the wow throws, throwing out of the pocket, on the move, across his body, off his back foot, and for the touchdown. Gorgeous. Guy bearing down on him. Really, it was the only play he had. Now, when the pocket is clean, there is time, there are options open, and you are seeing him throw off his back foot with bad mechanics when there is nobody around him. That is when there's an issue. There's no reason to make it harder on yourself. And when you do that, you're giving up accuracy. You're giving up timing. You're giving up repetition, or the repeatability of those reps. So like the throw to, there was one, I can't remember specifically which one it was. Obviously there's the Deshaun Hamilton one deep. That was a bummer that I felt like he threw off his back foot, weird mechanics for no reason. He fell off the mound on that one would be honest, it's a baseball term, but it's a football term.
And he drifted left for no reason. I mean, Garrett Bowles, you're exactly right. Garrett Bowles did a great job for what he needed to do. Yeah, you're exactly right, man. It's
you got to do the right mechanics when the pocket is clean and there's no reason to make those wow throws. Now, when you have to, and you can do that, my God, beautiful, awesome trump card to have in your pocket. But when you're doing it when you don't have to, and you're giving up accuracy, you're giving up timing, that's when it's a problem. And it's been a problem with Locke through 6 games. I mean, we're talking again, every excuse he has. I'm here for those excuses, but it's worth monitoring, and you have to watch it going forward.
I completely agree. And I think, to piggyback off of what you're saying, you're talking about muscle memory. If you
Yeah.
can start, having clean throws in the pocket, it's probably going to translate to a little bit more cleaner throws outside of the pocket when applicable, right? I mean, if you're getting bared down, sometimes you just got to sidearm throw it in there or sling it in there, do whatever you got to do. Drew Lock has the strength to do that. But man, Nick, it's not so much Drew Lock that I'm worried about with his mechanics in this game, but rather his protection. I want to
Yeah.
get back to that just a little bit more because Lloyd Cushenberry seemed to play well at center. Now, I watched the film, and my initial take was, "Come on, rookie, clean up those two muffed snaps or whatever they were." I'm undecided on if they were on Drew Lock or Lloyd Cushenberry, just because it's hard to see so many angles and try to zoom in when you go back and you're charting the plays. But I thought he played pretty well. Now, Graham Glasgow, I thought Glasgow had a very decent showing too for his debut game as a Bronco. Some plays that he needs to clean up, and I can tell that his ankle's bothering him. But overall, I couldn't believe it. I don't know if it was Pro Football Focus, but they actually rated Garrett Bowles, I think, is the highest rated offensive lineman.
I love
With
Bowles. He's always
yeah,
constantly rated their highest
with
player. And I
Dalton
do think Jimmy
Reisner
Carter.
coming in it too, dude. And I was just like, okay, doesn't make me feel that much better. You mentioned Cameron Hayward being a very underrated player. I completely agree. That guy's a leader of the defense. That guy's got a football mind, much like Jarrell Casey. He uses his mind and his intellect sometimes a little bit more than his muscle, and he's got a whole lot of muscle too. So Mike Munchak, he has a huge task ahead of him, protecting one, your Broncos running backs, and two, Drew Lock.
Yeah, and I think you would think that, more guys to block the better, but I really think the way to go at that is to spread them out a little bit, dictate the boxes, and if they go light in the box, you're going to run at them. Don't run at Hayward, but you're going to run at
Right.
them, and then especially if you can run at Bush. I know he's very fast, but if you run at him, he can have some issues where he will not pick the right gap, and he's so small that sometimes you can kind of, just shoulder him off. And I also think then you have the quick pass game. So I think you're going to see a lot more 11 personnel again. Hopefully some more shotgun to give Drew Lock a little bit more time so he doesn't have to feel like he has to throw off that back foot. And somebody commented on here. Let me see if I can find it real quick. 1 sec. Here we go. Jinja Ninja 88. Fant is going to show us why the Broncos picked him over Bush. I hope we see him burn him for a touchdown. That's an awesome little segment here. We had last week, we had the 19th overall pick in Jeffrey Simmons with Noah Fant, 20th overall pick. So back-to-back, kind of interesting to see that. This week, it's the guy that the Broncos probably would have taken at 10 overall in Devin Bush. And I want to say it's still early, but I feel very vindicated having Devin White over Devin Bush. I don't know if you watched that Tampa Bay versus Steelers game, but Devin White was everywhere.
He's an animal. He's an animal. And it's so weird seeing him. What is he wearing? 47?
45, I think.
It's weird seeing him wear a 40s number, first of all. But of course, like he's everybody, awesome. I wanted to watch Tampa, New Orleans, and he was my number.
That might be the best linebacker duo in football. We'll talk about that next week.
Devin Bush, man. That's interesting. You bring that up. The Jinja Ninja. I appreciate that. Fant's going to show us why he picked him. I hope so. I hope you're right. I liked Devin Bush. I didn't like him with that pick. And neither did the Broncos. Nick, I don't know if you caught on the press conference call with Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin throwing a little bit of shade at the Denver Broncos for, he was asked the question, ultimately the Broncos and the Steelers did trade picks in which the Steelers picked up the young Michigan linebacker Bush, and the Broncos eventually got Fant. And Mike Tomlin, well, he pretty much said we got the better of the two, not players, but options in the draft. He's calling Devin Bush a quarterback of the defense. He's through the moon. He's just, everything's rainbows and unicorns and sunshine. Now, he ain't Devin White, just like you said, man. Devin Bush is a very good player, but Noah Fant, I want to see something, man. I want to see another hot game too, because I'm starting to believe, Nick, I'm starting to really believe that this kid embraced this offseason. He's tired of everyone calling him soft, and he's coming out there, and dude, he looked like a boss, an absolute boss. And I'm naturally kind of, wanting to go against the Iowa guys just because I like to give you hell. But I couldn't say enough good things about Noah Fant, man. And I was just so frustrated to see the Broncos go away from him. And
Yeah.
with what reason? I mean, Fangio said that the looks weren't there or whatever. I mean, kind of protecting his offensive coordinator for a little bit there, but the looks are going to be there with these linebackers screaming downhill to try to get to Drew Lock. So absolutely, you got to think Noah Fant. He's gonna, even if he's a check down option, he's gonna make the Steelers pay.
And I don't want to be too difficult of a time here, but we were talking about Noah Fant in the offseason. He said, besides being a freakish athlete, what does Noah Fant do well? I'm like, well, being a freakish athlete is probably where it starts and stops with him, because he's bigger, faster, stronger than 95% of the people that are going to go against him. And if you have a literal thoroughbred out there over the middle of the field, one-on-one with a linebacker, or God save him, a cornerback with him, he's going to win that matchup. He's going to run through them. And it's going to be even better once Cortland Sutton comes back, because there's going to be more space over the middle. So, I mean, yak monster this year. Noah Fant. We saw, it was a couple years ago, I think, George Kittle set the record for yak yards in a season. Maybe I think it was multiple tight ends actually had a lot of yak yards. But Noah Fant this year, look out, man. Get the ball to him quick. Let him run. It's going to be beautiful. And I think Devin Bush, last week I thought he did pretty good. Evan Ingram, obviously a really athletic tight end. Some people have compared Noah Fant to him. Noah Fant is, I think, bigger and stronger, and there's more inline potential for Noah Fant than Ingram ever had. But that is the one that is interesting to me. But Devin Bush stunk last year in coverage. He looked better week 1. So it's going to be worth watching to see what happens there for Noah Fant and the Broncos, and that interesting matchup. And I love Mike Tomlin. Screw you, Mike Tomlin. Noah Fant, I would take Noah Fant over Devin Bush at this point, even though and you got, not only did you get Noah Fant, but you also had extra capital to trade up for Drew Lock, and you got Lloyd Cushenberry. So trading up for a linebacker, I mean, good for them. They feel like they were that one piece away they could go for the Super Bowl, but Broncos win that trade going away. It's not close.
Yeah, absolutely. And those players, Devin Bush and Noah Fant, are going to be forever linked together because of a draft day trade. So it's going to be really interesting to see how both of their careers, because I think they're both going to have success in the NFL. Now, right now, some people are of the opinion that offense is more important than defense, particularly the tight end position. Well, some of these linebackers can cover the tight end position. I'm not saying Devin Bush is the best coverage linebacker in the world either, but he's a tackling machine. Now, something I'm wondering about, just to touch on the running backs one more time, one thing Melvin Gordon does particularly well, he pass blocks, Nick. He can pass block in the shotgun position. Do you expect to see Melvin Gordon picking up some blitzes, so Drew Lock can hopefully have an extra half a second to at least a full second to get out of the pocket and make a play?
I mean, he's going to have to make some plays with his leg this week. And hopefully, even if it's just escaping the pocket and picking up 3 or 4 yards, that keeps the offense churning, that keeps them on schedule. And I think it was, this is the pre-Patrick Mahomes days, but when the Broncos always inevitably ended up going against the Seahawks, which for some reason they played them so many times when they were still really good, playing Russell Wilson, man, he would escape the pocket and make throws down the field, but just the slipperiness he had and the athleticism to where you have him. Oh my gosh, there he goes. He's picking up 4 yards, and they are, now it's 2nd and 6 instead of 2nd and 17. So, Drew Lock is going to have to show off that athleticism. He's going to have to show off the playmaking ability, but can he keep them on schedule? Can he play within the offense and show that timing? So, and that's going to be huge for beating the pass rush. So we've been talking a lot of offense. We should probably switch it over here to when the Steelers have the ball and the Broncos are on defense. But before we do that, guys, we got to talk a little bit, let you know, this is the Mile High Insiders podcast. I am Nick Kendell. Joining me today, Luke Patterson. He's got the beautiful shirt on. I have the old school D going on here.
Go get your
find
swag
us on Twitter.
on.
Go get the swag. We'll get to that. Find us on Twitter at MHI_football pod. Again, at Mile High Huddle. That's our main affiliate. That's the mothership, so to speak. We work for part of Sports Illustrated. Really important, guys. If you like the Luke was showing off his shirt here. If you like that stuff, go to huddleuppod.com to get your swag on. I should have a hat coming in soon. Hopefully, you'll get a hat coming in soon as well. I got my
Building the Broncos. Right, that's a great point, Nick. And I know you and Carl are pretty humble guys, and so is the rest of the crew. So I'm going to plug that one for you. You guys be sure to go check out all of our other podcasts. Nick is a part of another great podcast with Carl, Building the Broncos, on Tuesday nights. We have, of course, our Huddle Up guys with Zach and Chad, and then we have Building the Broncos with Lance and Eric. So we've got a whole crew. We're covering Broncos 7 days a week. So there's not a single place you need to be checking out Broncos information other than right here with Mile High Huddle and Sports Illustrated. So, Nick, you talked about wanting to switch the conversation over to basically Big Ben, right? That's who we're going to be talking about now.
Quickly, I think we should touch on the injuries real quick. It does seem that Cleveland, I think somebody said that Cleveland is out and Sutton should be playing. We also should see Hamler. Bowles is dinged. I don't think Glasgow is on the injury report anymore, and Lindsey's out. So Broncos got some injuries to deal with. Let's hope we will not have more, but I think those are the ones that are worth mentioning right now. Guys, in the comments, if I missed anybody specifically on the offensive side of the ball, let us know. We'll get to it.
Yeah, and I'm trying to check through my email real quick because I got the Broncos press release here, but I did not get the inactive. So
I think it just came out recently. So
okay, yeah,
Sutton's going to be limited, but he should be out there.
Okay, and Hamler will be out there as well. I did see a conversation. Can we get confirmation that Hamler's from Pennsylvania? Is that right? I thought he was originally from New Jersey and then moved to Pennsylvania.
That's probably right. I just think of him at Penn State.
The reason I say that, it's a homecoming for KJ Hamler, if that's the case, and it's also a homecoming, Nick Vannett, as you mentioned, but Mike Munchak is coming back, to Heinz Field, something that's a little bit interesting there. I think sometimes old coaches always want to beat the teams that they left for, but here we go. We got Mundungus Creevy coming in with another super chat. Mundungus, appreciate you so much, brother. Sorry, I was driving. The Giants O-line is trash, and Daniel Jones torched the secondary. Like I said, the Steelers D is overrated. I'm not saying they're terrible. They're just overrated. The Giants offensive line had some problems. You're exactly right. So I'm going to give you your due there. I'm not a Daniel Jones guy. I never have been. I think he's a competent quarterback. I just don't see anything special with him. But he took some licks, Nick.
Yeah, he did. I mean, hats off to him. I thought his pocket presence was better than we'd seen it. He doesn't have the best arm, but he has a little bit more athleticism, and he'll throw it out there. One of my favorite quarterback analysts out there, he's on Twitter at QB Class, Klass. His last name's Klassen. But he is a Daniel Jones fan mostly, and he said Daniel Jones is a more athletic, less arm talent Jameis Winston, because he's just going to throw up some WTF balls, but he's going to keep going out there and taking those licks. So, I mean, he has balls. I'll give him that. But we'll see if Drew Lock has bigger balls this week going up against the Steelers pass rush. Broncos offensive line is better than the Giants offensive line. I will give you that. So it's going to be interesting to see. And moving now to speaking of a banged up offensive line, the Steelers offensive line is in trouble, guys. I mean, there's no other way to put it. I really enjoy Zach Banner just as a personality. He's a big goofball. He's giant. But he had an Achilles injury. Somebody asked him if he was okay, and he's like, "Oh, I'm just cutting that one off. I'll be good to go. I only need one." Something like that. He was joking around out there. He's funny. But we have Chukwuma Okorafor from Western Michigan. I think with his first start, he's a second-year player for right tackle. So, I mean, Broncos, I know they're down Von Miller, but that should be a matchup where they have a chance to make some noise. Right guard.
Atachu. I need Jeremiah Atachu, who had a great game. Surprised me. He's not the second coming of the greatest pass rusher in the world, but man, this could be a good game for Jeremiah Atachu as you go through these injuries. That's the first thing I think of right there. Yeah. Come on, man. You need to exploit this player, this backup player. It's backup on backup, and anything can happen at that right tackle spot, as the Broncos very well know for their offense.
Yeah, and I think the biggest loss for them is the right guard position. David DeCastro is one of the best guards in football. He has been since he was drafted. Drafted in 2012, I believe, 22nd overall. A lot of people thought he'd be a top 15 pick. I think he fell to 22, or maybe even later. But he's been great there for a long time. I think he's active, but he's not going to play. He's injured. But Kevin Doxson, who is a rookie, is going to be playing there. So that will be really interesting. Obviously, Marquise Pouncey is good, but Matt Filer, I don't even know who Matt Filer is. I'll be completely honest with you. I like offensive linemen. Don't know who that is. Left guard starting for the Steelers. And then Andrejo Villanueva, the left tackle who former
Alejandro.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, Alejandro, one of my boys, man. I've always liked Alejandro. DeCastro, was he originally drafted by the Cowboys?
No.
Did the Steelers take him? Okay. Yeah. For some reason, that name just kind of reminds me of the Cowboys. But
Zach Martin, who's arguably the best right guard in football. Right behind him would be DeCastro, but DeCastro has been a lifelong Steeler.
Okay. Then that's what it is, man. So you're looking at what? Jarrell Casey over that spot?
Yes.
Jarrell Casey had a very good game. I was watching, one of my favorite things to watch, Nick, is when the players are mic'd up, right? Who doesn't like that? And I just watched Jarrell Casey and he was mic'd up, getting after some of his old teammates. But it was the pass deflections for Jarrell Casey that I wasn't quite expecting. Now, we saw Shelby Harris get in there and block a field goal, but Jarrell Casey at one point had said, hey, man, what'd I tell you all week? I've been working on batting those balls, and I already got 2 on you guys. And I'm thinking, man, this guy isn't known for being Shelby Harris batting balls out there. He's known for stuffing the run and occasionally getting some good sacks as a Pro Bowler. So I'm looking for Jarrell Casey to have another good game. Mike Purcell. I thought Mike Purcell played a very well game too. Now, I wasn't through the moon with him, but he was very consistent, not letting guys just road grade him.
Do your job.
Yeah, dude, to quote Josh McDaniels, right? Stop making up and do your job. But yeah, I thought the defensive line, Bill Kolar has them, I think, in check, at least for week 1, and they looked pretty good, Nick. I was feeling pretty confident about the defensive line. So if you're telling me the Broncos defensive line is going to go up against the banged up Pittsburgh offensive line, I'm feeling pretty good. Now,
honestly, here's a question for you. Just to cut you off real quick.
Yeah.
Who has the better advantage this week? I know the Broncos are missing Von Miller, but the Broncos defensive line plus the edge rushers, we'll include them, versus the Steelers offensive line, or the Steelers defensive line versus the Broncos offensive line.
Comes down to a couple things for me. Quarterback is the first thing. Now, with Drew Lock, it always does, right? With Drew Lock, you have a young quarterback that can be mobile and has a strong arm. That can do a lot of things for you. But then you've got a future Hall of Famer in Big Ben. And what can I say about Big Ben? He's going to pick on the rookies. He's going to go after Michael Ojemudia. He's going to go after Asang Bassi. He's going to go after Devontae Bosby. He's going to go after Deontay Harris. He's going to go after these guys because he simply is playing the mental game right now. He's got a ton of arm strength, but he's a statue now, Nick. He can move around just a little, but it's slow moving. It's really slow moving. So
he's still a big boy. You have to bring him back.
And he's still a big boy. Who has the advantage right now? I'm going to give it to the Steelers just because they've got a quarterback that's been there and done that. That's not to say that Drew Lock can't do it yet, but we've got Ashish. I'm so sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. I am absolutely terrible at that.
Cute kid.
Yeah, please correct me so I can get that fixed. Hi, guys. What do you guys think about Vic admitting that he missed taking timeouts while thinking what to call in the next play? We cannot find new ways to beat us every year. How about Vic let Ed call the defensive plays while he is managing the clock and also vetoing certain plays when he needs to? And that is a great comment. I was expecting this one to come up. I've seen it going on in the chat as we go. And Nick, I wrote about this as well, talking about Ed Donatell's press conference. And Ed and Vic, man, they've got a special relationship, but Vic said things are going to stay the same. And he said he's going to be calling, the defensive plays. Ed said his job is to support him. Now, Mike Kliss did give some clarification yesterday on air that the issue's been addressed with regards to the time management. Mitch Tanny with the analytics department mutually decided to leave ways and part ways from the Broncos last year. And Mitch Tanny was basically in the headset of Vic Fangio last year, giving him statistical probabilities, chances, game time decisions. Basically was a tool for Vic Fangio, and things just didn't quite work out for whatever reason. Now, there are rumors there was a falling out between Fangio and this guy, and Fangio, being the head coach, you're the boss, ultimately got his way. But Nick, I am a little concerned that, you don't have your BFF and Ed Donatell, who's in his 3rd stint coaching with the Denver Broncos, at least your safety guy, saying, hey, coach, come on, man. We got X amount of time here. What are you looking at here? You got a Hall of Famer in Mike Munchak. I'm not saying Chris Cooper needs to have the headset telling coach what to do. What do you make of that? How do you think coach is going to respond to the time management issues in game 2?
Honestly, he can't mess it up again back-to-back weeks. Otherwise, the hot take artist will have his head. But I'm very frustrated with it. It's stuff that it's controllable. And for somebody who preaches the little things like Vic Fangio does, to have those issues, not only happening this year, but multiple times last year as well, as those late games, just small ball kind of stuff.
You mean
So
death by inches, stuff like
uh,
that, right? I would
it's
I would say death by inches includes not knowing when to call timeouts. Some would call that death by miles, right, Nick?
that I can think of. I have much more patience for the young offensive weapons and like Jerry Judy dropping the ball and stuff like that. Even a little bit Pat Shermer's play calling in there in the third quarter, which was not great. But the second year for Vic Fangio, when you already have these issues, if you're calling the defense and that's an issue, figure it out, man. Figure it out. You got to have somebody in your ear or something saying, "Hey, man, this is where you're calling a timeout." The probability is this is 67% of the time, this is the best time to call a timeout. Some sort of analytical BS jargon, whatever, blah blah blah.
Hmm.
But it just doesn't have that, and you can't be too focused on the play call at hand to completely forget that responsibility. So, I mean, it's something that needs to be figured out. I mean, I don't want to spend too much time on it because, again, we're talking about the Steelers this week, but
Week one's
it
over.
it needs to be figured out because it's an issue last year, still an issue. So we got Christopher D044 coming in. Nick, my dude, Chris, good to see you. Looking fly there with that picture there. Let's get this W. Maybe Chubb will injure Big Ben and we upset the Steelers. I'm not pulling for a Big Ben injury. I know that say what you will about his behavior, morality, whatever. I mean, he has a sketchy past. We'll put it that. We'll leave it at that. But I would love to see Chubb sack him, 4 or 5 times and have Big Ben needed to ice up at the end of the game. That would be great. My X factor tomorrow is KJ and Cortland. Hit the like. Appreciate that, Chris. And guys, yeah, he's right. Hit the like. Click those little thumbs up, as they say. And Cortland Sutton being an X factor, I think because he's limited, that's probably. I feel like that's probably a guy I'd be against. Like if it was daily fantasy football, I'm not grabbing Cortland Sutton. Watch, he has a killer game now. But KJ Hamler, man, it just takes one play from KJ Hamler. And that's one reason I know a lot of people were really upset about the Broncos getting a wide receiver back-to-back when there's still issues in the offensive line, cornerback, linebacker, blah, 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 blah. But KJ Hamler's explosiveness and his ability to make one catch that'll flip the game is something that, you don't love him in fantasy football because he's make or break. But, I mean, for an offense to have that, even if he's limited, I'm really excited about that. And he's going to create space for other guys around him. So I really like KJ being that X factor. Could see it. I think Jerry Judy's going to have a big game. But KJ could be the X factor.
Yeah, I'm going to push back on that. I don't think he can be the X factor at all, simply because it's his first game in Pittsburgh. I mean, man, that's asking a lot from a rookie, a speed burner. So, I mean, I could be completely wrong on one catch, man. I mean, he has the ability to take it to the house, but so does Jerry Jeudy. If we're talking fantasy, just real quick, I'd look at Jerry Jeudy a lot and Noah Fant a lot, just because those are going to be Locke's primary targets. I've got some concerns with KJ Hamler. We talked about it before, not because of the drops, but because, he was a sprinter. I mean, he's a speed burner. Sometimes those guys get some injuries. So I'm hoping for the best. I'm not expecting the worst, but maybe a decent game for KJ Hamler to break in. What I completely disagree with is Bradley Chubb getting after Ben Roethlisberger, because Bradley Chubb's not right. He can say he's okay and that the knee feels fine and everything like that, but outside of his 2 quarterback hits, zeros across the board for Bradley Chubb last week. And I don't put that on Chubb. The guy's playing hurt, and Vic doesn't put his guys on pitch counts, another baseball term, right? We're football guys, but he's not giving snap counts here. So Chubb, there's something not right. I just really hope they manage Chubb if he can or cannot go. I know we're going to be seeing him in there, but man, I'd hate for Bradley Chubb to get hurt against Alejandro Villanueva because his knee's not 100%. So,
yeah, I think the biggest thing with Chubb is that they always plan to bring him about slowly, but once Von Miller got injured, those plans went out the window. And so there's some saying about make plans and God laughs at you or something like that. But
yeah, no, you're right. You're right, but I'm just really sick of the lazy takes. Not lazy takes; they're accurate. He got double teamed. Well, he's
getting double teamed to win because it's taking resources from them. If you have a guy who demands double teams every time,
thank you.
That's a win. That opens things up for other players. So while you're not going to see that's the thing about when you have a guy like JJ Watt or Von Miller or Aaron Donald who are getting double and triple teams and they still get those stats. Wow. But
go back and watch DeMarcus Ware, he got double teamed almost his entire career.
Yeah.
Found a way to get through it. Go watch Aaron Donald, who's knocking centers, guards, and quarterbacks down all at the same time. That guy's just not from this freaking planet. But no, you're exactly right. We got Chris coming in here as we start to wrap up the show. We got some more time with you guys, so be sure to get in all of your last minute questions. Chris Hernandez, what's up, Chris? I see that shirt, man. I see Zach's shirt in there. Let them hate. Excited for the game tomorrow. Hoping that KJ Hamler and Jerry Jeudy can balance each other out. Noah Fant needs to be in a 60-minute game plan, not just the first 30. Chris, we could not agree with you more. Pat Shurmur, he's got to step it up. I wasn't terribly impressed with the game plan against the Titans. Really wasn't. Some of those cutesy plays that we talked about, I didn't like. Some of the coming out and throwing on first down, I didn't particularly like either. But it's one game, folks. It's one game. And I know everybody wants to blame Vic Fangio, and I had some harsh criticism at Mile High Huddle for him on my article as well. But the thing is, man, that was a team loss, Nick. That was absolutely a team loss. I can point to at least 5 things right now that lost the game, not including Vic Fangio's timeouts. So
neither team wanted to win the game.
Yeah. So Pat Shurmur, man, I need you to step it up.
And we got Pabby coming in with the AJ or Alexander Johnson, excuse me, corrected somebody the other day. Alexander Johnson, sorry for showing up late. Just wanted to show some love. Go Broncos. Pabby, we appreciate that so much. That's good to see. Hopefully you're doing pretty well. And we are running short on time. So we want to keep talking here about the Steelers offense versus the Broncos defense. Obviously the Broncos the Steelers our offensive line, especially on the right side, is banged the heck up. A lot of issues there. James Conner is banged up, and the Steelers are injured on the the offensive weapons as well. Juju Smith-Schuster is going to go, I believe, but he's dinged up. Deontay Johnson, second-year player, is dinged up as well. Chase Claypool had an okay game last week. They got James Washington as well, so they got some weapons there. But the ones that scare me this week, and we saw it last week as well with the Titans, they didn't fully kill the Broncos with it, but the tight ends, there's space over the middle. There's going to be with Alexander Johnson and Josie Jewell, especially with Mark Barron still banged up. So the Steelers have 2 excellent athletes at the tight end position. Not the best hands, but athletes, guys in space that can make stuff happen. Vance McDonald and Eric Ebron, both those guys, I believe, former first-round picks, or Vance McDonald was an early second-round pick, but both good athletes. Broncos linebackers are going to be in a position, and safeties, where they're going to have to play a great game. I mean, that concerns me a lot.
Yeah, man, you're exactly right. I just got to throw a quick thoughts and prayers to Pabby. Hope you're doing well. Have not forgot about you, so I will be getting at you soon. Yeah, man, you're exactly right. I mean, there are so many storylines in Pittsburgh versus Denver. It's really James Conner's banged up, right? I mean, and the running game is going to be, I don't want to say non-existent for the Steelers, but it's not going to be a healthy balance. Ben's back because he wants to air it out. It's just that simple. But I think
the Steelers are probably going to do a lot of 12.
I completely agree. Ben likes that, and it's really what he wants right now. I mean, it is what it is. But the Broncos have a hard time out there on the East Coast anyway, so that's something that they have going against them. I know it's an early game for us here in the Mile High City, early game around the league. But overall, man, I got to give you my pick. I know you saw it earlier. I went 27-16 Steelers just because I think it's just such a tough matchup for the Broncos to get in there. Man, I hate picking against the Broncos, Nick. I do. I hate it. Yeah. I picked against them last week just because, I got some homer in me too, man. But the one thing that we do on Mile High Huddle, dude, is we tell the truth and we give things to our fan base and our following that's accurate and honest. So when we're telling you, watch out for the defensive line for the Steelers, watch out because they're going to be a problem. But on the flip side of that, Nick, we're also telling you, Steelers offensive line, your backups, you watch out for the Broncos defensive line because it could truly be a battle of the D line and the linebackers. Alexander Johnson, just a quick note. I know people love to refer to him as AJ. Go look up his history. He had a heck of a story trying to get into the NFL, was eventually cleared up of some alleged wrongdoings, and prefers to go by Alexander. Got to give the guy his love on his government name. Speaking of giving guys some love, Mundunga's coming in, another Super Chat superstar, member of the MHH family. Just so you guys are caught up, Josie Jewell's name is now and forever the Honey Bear. You're welcome. Nick, I like the Outlaw myself, but
he's the Outlaw. I'm a Hawkeye, man. He's the Outlaw.
The thing. When he was the Outlaw, he wasn't playing good. I'm starting to think maybe Mundungus is onto something. Honey Badger don't give up. Maybe Honey Bear don't give up either, because seeing Josie Jewell get to Derrick Henry like that, man, I was so happy for the guy, because I know he's been working his tail off. He's that blue collar linebacker, and he deserved it, Nick. And I just hate to give your Iowa guys more and more credit, but they're Broncos and they played damn well.
Yeah, no, they did. This is going to be a more interesting game because the Steelers play less in that box type of football. So it's going to be interesting. But I always had Josie because, the Outlaw, just because the Wild West history there. I can't remember who specifically it's been, but he's been the Outlaw for a while, and I'm a Hawkeye. He was the Outlaw, I think, at Decorah.
Josie Wales, the Outlaw Josie Wales.
Yes, that's it. But we got about 5 minutes left, guys. I think we have to talk here. You talk about your final prediction for the score. I have the Steelers winning 23-20. What does that mean? We both have the Broncos losing, but they cover, and everyone knows that's as much a win as anything else, especially if you're going to sportsbetting.com. So the Broncos are touchdown dogs this week, so losing by less than a touchdown for both of us there. So it'll be interesting. If the Broncos do win, I think this is an interesting question to you to end it out on here. Who's the offensive X factor for you for the Broncos? Just a quick little one sentence afterwards, because we gotta move.
If the Broncos win this football game, it will be because Drew Lock is a gunslinger. Go back in the audio and find out what it's like, and he will tell you. What's it like to be a gunslinger? It's kind of like being a three-point shooter. I mean, you don't let one bad throw get to you. You let the kid go out there. It's the league. Let it rip. Why not? You've got the best wide receiver in the draft. Yeah, he had a couple drops. Big whoop-de-doo. Jerry Jeudy has a huge future ahead of him. If the Broncos win the game, it's because Drew Lock and this Broncos offense aren't afraid of the Pittsburgh Steelers. You and I are talking to them about, or talking to our fan base right now about why they should be concerned. But you know what? This is grown man football. The Broncos, they should not be traveling to Pittsburgh being afraid of the Steelers, because the Broncos got some physical, nasty dogs on their team as well. Let's make it a fight, man. Let's make it a fight, not a point scoring system. I want to see some just third down and inches being stuffed. I want to see nasty old school football, even though it's going to be an air raid attack.
Yeah, for me, I think the X factor in this game is going to be Jerry Jeudy. Obviously, you saw the talent he had. Hopefully the Broncos have Sutton out there so we can see Jeudy in the slot where he can play. He can go either direction. He doesn't have the sideline as another defender. And with that, his ability to create separation where he can go inside or outside, I think he has a chance to be very big. Also, I think he's going to be very, that game, I think he was heartbroken. I don't think he slept that well this week because it's been really bothering him that much. So it's going to be a big one for him. And it's going to be, I think he's the X factor, defensive X factor. I think it's going to be Draymond Jones. I think with especially Dotson playing that right guard position, Jones looked really good last week, besides that offside he had, which was a big penalty. But, I mean, he was getting constant pressure. He's so good with his hands. He plays with good leverage. He's not the most powerful guy, but he doesn't have to be because he's slippery. So I think Jones is going to have a big game. I really do. I think he's going to have at least one sack, and he's going to have multiple pressures in the backfield.
And then if you pair that with some Jeremiah Tattoo, one sack, a couple quarterback hits, I mean, then you're already at 2 sacks with just 2 players. I like it, Nick. I like it a lot.
Jones was moved around a lot. He actually played some edge where they're doing a lot of stunts and twists because Vic Fangio loves to do that. But I'm really thinking that Jones is going to have a big game. I think this is going to be the game where Draymond Jones is a guy. He's a
breakout game for Draymond Jones if the Broncos are to win.
Yes.
Okay, I like it. One last thing I got to say, just quick note. I got to throw a little bit of shade at Cortland Sutton. I can't stand the cornrows, man. Someone tell cornrows went out of style in 2000 when Allen Iverson last had them. I mean, when Carmelo Anthony had them, I didn't like them. It's just it works on some guys' heads and some guys it doesn't. It doesn't work on Cortland for me, man. I'm not feeling it, and I don't know why it bothers me as much as it does.
If we get $100 donation, super chat, Luke has to do do cornrows. I think we have to do that now. I think that has to be a thing. That'd be gorgeous. Then rock
Yeah.
that.
Oh
Hashtag Luke's
man.
cornrows. I'm about it, man.
Man, you
But
gave
your
me all
defensive
those you gave me all those compliments, and then I'd come out looking just absolutely garbage. But guys, I appreciate you guys so much. I know Nick does as well. This has been such a fun talk. Week 2. Now, a lot of things went wrong in week 1, but you know what? The season is ahead of us, Broncos country. It's not all doom and gloom. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. You can win, you can lose on any given Sunday, right, Nick?
Oh, I mean, that's the name of the game. But I want your defensive X factor before we get out of here.
Defensive X factor. Okay. Oh, defensive X factor for
If the Broncos
me.
win, the player that has a big game is
Okay. I'm gonna shock everyone here. Michael Ojemudia. Because
oh hell yeah.
Michael Ojemudia played a great game in against the Titans. He looked NFL ready, despite a couple little mistakes being out of position, but he was
Yeah,
right
pass
there.
interference.
I think he's
Yeah.
going to surprise some people. Would have had an interception on a terrible call from the refs against Alexander Johnson, but for me, it's going to be the rook, your boy, Michael Ojemudia, going to be turning some heads, telling Broncos country, it's all right, I got this.
Man, I love it. All this Iowa Hawkeye talk here with the Broncos. We need to get a few more on here, man. It's beautiful. Josie Jewell and media, Noah Fant. I mean, I know that Mundungus is squirming right now because he's a Nebraska fan, but that's gonna have to do it for us today, guys. We really do appreciate it. Make sure you find Luke on Twitter at Luke Patterson LP. Find myself on Twitter also at Kendell MHH. Make sure you go check out Luke's latest article and all our latest articles over at milehuddle.com, an affiliate of Sports Illustrated. Also, guys, like, subscribe, and share on YouTube. Leave a like, heart, laugh emoji, whatever on Facebook. We really do appreciate that. All that stuff that you do can help us continue to bring you these Denver Bronco deep dives. Also, if you're listening to this not on the live stream, but on iTunes or anything like that, obviously all these live streams get loaded up on there. Go there and leave a 5-star rating and a comment. That can help us a lot as well. Follow the Mile High Insiders podcast and all our other great audio content. Again, subscribing to us. You can follow us on Twitter at Mile High Huddle and at MHI_football pod. For Luke, I'm Nick, wrapping up another episode of the Mile High Insiders podcast. Luke, any positive, inspirational words before we get out of here?
Take care of each other. Have a great day tomorrow. Football is back. If you're working, try to plug in on Game Pass when you get home, Nick. I know that's what you're going to be doing. We were talking about that earlier. Football is back, man. And let's just celebrate it. Take care of each other. Have a great day. And I think I'm going to wrap it up with a Go Broncos.
Go Broncos indeed. Have a great night, guys. Have a great Saturday. Stay safe. We love you. We appreciate you. Go Broncos.